Gentlemen, let me ask you something most men sense, but few ever dare to say out loud. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal from someone who saw loyalty? Have you seen a friend's smile hide the sharpness of a blade, or watched your trust become a weapon turned against you? If you have, you already know this world is not ruled by kindness but by strategy, not by mercy, but by understanding human nature in its rawest form. And tonight, you'll learn how to face the toxic, the deceitful, and the manipulative, using 7 cold, unflinching laws forged in the shadows of power. So stay with me. What you're about to hear won't teach you how to forgive. It will teach you how to endure, how to rise, and how to win where others break. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, your city, your country. Let the world know where the strong minds gather. And if you value truth over illusion, power over pity, make sure you subscribe right now, because this is just the beginning. 1. Human nature is selfish by default. Every human carries within them a hunger, sometimes hidden, sometimes proudly displayed. It is the hunger for advantage, for survival, for the silent satisfaction of being above another. To believe otherwise is to walk blindly into the jaws of manipulation. Those you call toxic are merely the ones who do not disguise this hunger well. They take, they deceive, they flatter, and they wound not because they are broken, but because they are simply being what human nature allows when it is not restrained by morality or consequence. The first law of survival among such people is to see humanity as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. Many lose their strength not because they are weak, but because they are narrower. They think kindness will be returned, loyalty will be rewarded, and truth will be respected. But when dealing with the self-serving, the good-hearted are the easiest prey. The one who expects fairness from the unfair is already half defeated. You must replace the lens of hope with the lens of observation. Watch not what people say, but what they pursue. Their words will charm, their actions will reveal. Toxicity is not always loud or violent. It often comes wrapped in affection, advice, or concern. The most dangerous individuals are those who learn to cloak their self-interest behind noble intent. They will speak of unity while feeding division. They will preach loyalty while keeping knives ready beneath their smiles. To confront such people, you must understand that human virtue often collapses when power, envy, or gain is near. No relationship is immune to this corrosion. It only waits for the right conditions to emerge. If you wish to deal with these people effectively, you must abandon the illusion of pure hearts. Every person you meet carries motives, some small, some vast. The wise do not condemn this, they simply learn to read it. The one who sees through others' motives without hatred becomes untouchable. He navigates the selfish world not as a victim, but as a player who knows the rules. Compassion can still exist, but it must be guided by reason, not blind emotion. The toxic person thrives on the unguarded. They sense weakness like a wolf senses fear. They feed not only on opportunity but on emotional dependency. When you seek approval, when you reveal insecurities, when you show that their opinion matters more than your judgment, you become their instrument. Therefore, the first act of defense is internal, to sever your need for validation. When you no longer depend on others to define your worth, their manipulations lose their grip. Recognize that most cruelty begins not from evil but from desperation. People harm because they fear irrelevance, rejection, or weakness. They envy what they cannot control. Their poison comes from their own insecurity, yet it spreads to anyone who allows proximity without discernment. You cannot save them by kindness, nor correct them by logic. To deal with the toxic, one must first understand the raw anatomy of selfishness, the natural pulse that beats inside every human heart, waiting for the right moment to demand its share too. Emotional detachment is strength in the theater of human conflict. Emotion is the most dangerous weapon, not when wielded, but when surrendered. Those who govern their emotions rule the battlefield, while those who display them become subjects of manipulation. The toxic person thrives on reaction. They provoke to test control, they insult to extract weakness, and they flatter to open doors. Each time you respond with visible emotion, anger, hurt, or desperation, you feed their strategy. The more you reveal what moves you, the easier it becomes for them to move you. Detachment, therefore, is not coldness, it is armor. It is the invisible wall between your peace and their poison. To remain detached is not to be indifferent, but to calculate. Feelings cloud judgment. When you are angry, you speak too much. When you are offended, you defend yourself unnecessarily. When you are afraid, you submit before it is required. The one who stays calm sees every move clearly. The toxic person depends on chaos. They thrive when you lose composure. In silence, their power dissolves. They cannot fight what does not react. To practice emotional control is to turn their game into confusion. They strike, yet nothing strikes back. You must learn the art of observing emotion without obeying it. When you feel insulted, study the insult. When you feel attacked, analyze the intent. Ask yourself, what does this person gain from my reaction? If the answer reveals their plan, you have already defeated them without conflict. The wise do not rush to defend their pride. They allow others to expose their pettiness through overreach. The moment you stop responding, your silence begins to humiliate them more deeply than words ever could. Toxic individuals feed on emotional engagement. Whether love, anger, or pity, any reaction binds you to their control. They are masters at turning empathy into chains. They cry not always from pain but from strategy. They confess not to seek forgiveness but to reset your guard. Detachment frees you from this cycle. It allows you to act with purpose instead of impulse. It turns your decisions into tools of advantage rather than cries for understanding. Understand this. Emotional detachment is not natural, it must be trained. The mind will always wish to retaliate, to justify, to explain. That urge must be strangled before it escapes. Every time you resist speaking in haste, every time you swallow the need to prove your innocence, your strength multiplies. You become unpredictable, unreadable, untouchable. The toxic person loses interest when their manipulations yield no emotion. To them, you become a closed book, valuable perhaps but unreachable. In moments of confrontation, breathe slowly and measure your silence. Let your calmness irritate them. Let their frustration reveal their weakness. People who depend on control cannot survive in the presence of indifference. When you remove emotion from your strategy, you force others to expose their dependence on it. And as they unravel, you begin to see how power truly works, not in noise but in restraint, not in fire, but in the cold precision of stillness. 3. But master the art of strategic distance. There is power in closeness, but there is wisdom in distance. Most are destroyed not by their enemies, but by those they allow too near. The toxic person operates like a shadow. They need proximity to feed. They observe your moods, your weaknesses, your habits, and your fears. The closer they stand, the clearer their aim becomes. To deal with such people, one must not always confront. Sometimes withdrawal is the sharper weapon. Strategic distance is not cowardice. It is calculation. It is the deliberate choice to deny your presence to those who misuse it. To distance yourself is to reclaim control over your emotional and mental space. But toxic individuals flourish when they can reach you, speak to you, or influence your thoughts. They depend on constant access, and when you quietly step back, their influence begins to starve. Do not announce your withdrawal, simply reduce your availability. Respond less. Give them the illusion that they still exist in your world, but remove their power to affect it. They will grow restless and confused, for nothing disarms the manipulative more than indifference paired with absence. Strategic distance is not merely physical, it is psychological. Even when you must remain among them, you can retreat inwardly. Speak less of your feelings, reveal nothing of your plans, and avoid explaining your choices. The toxic person hunts for information to twist and use. Each word you withhold is a weapon kept in your own hand. When they ask questions, answer with what appears to be clarity but conceals intention. Maintain the surface of calm interaction while concealing the true depth of your thoughts. The strongest players in any human game are those whose motives cannot be read. Many believe that confrontation proves strength, but often it only feeds the opponent's drama. The toxic person craves reaction. They need spectacle to justify their own deceit. When you argue, they gather energy. When you withdraw, they weaken. Learn the rhythm of retreat. When to step back, when to vanish, when to let silence speak for you. Silence is not submission, it is an invisible blade. It slices through false attachments without leaving a mark. The one who knows how to disappear without explanation controls the narrative, for people always fear what they cannot see. Distance also grants perspective. When you are too close to manipulation, you cannot see the strings being pulled, but once you step away, clarity returns. You begin to notice patterns, the rehearsed words, the sudden affection after cruelty, the constant cycle of guilt and reconciliation. Distance transforms confusion into understanding. It allows reason to replace emotion, observation to replace attachment. In that quiet space, you rediscover your own power, the ability to decide who deserves access and who does not. Strategic distance demands discipline, for the human heart longs for closure, but for explanation, for justice. You must resist that hunger. Let the toxic person speak into silence. Let them wonder why you no longer respond. Their greatest punishment is the emptiness left behind when their control evaporates. They will try to draw you back through guilt or charm, but every return gives them new ground to attack. To master distance is to understand that withdrawal is not loss. It is purification. It is the process by which you separate what corrupts from what strengthens, until only clarity remains. Turn their tactics against them. Every manipulator believes they are clever. They weave lies, feign emotions, and play the victim with such skill that most never question their motives. Yet the essence of strategy lies not in avoiding the game, but in mastering it better than its creator. The toxic person thrives on control. They manipulate because they think others are blind to their methods. But once you see the pattern, once you dissect their tactics, their power becomes fragile. They are creatures of habit, predictable, repetitive, and arrogant. Their confidence in deceit becomes the key to their undoing when their methods are turned back upon them. When someone attempts to guilt you, do not defend yourself. Agree calmly, but act as if the guilt means nothing. When they try to provoke anger, respond with deliberate calm. When they flatter, return the flattery but without sincerity. Mirror their behavior, not as imitation, but as reflection. The manipulator studies your emotional reactions to craft control. When you become a mirror, they see themselves instead. It unsettles them, for they realize their tricks no longer land on soft ground. The moment they sense they are being studied, their confidence fractures. No deceiver likes to feel observed. The goal is not revenge. It is domination through understanding. When you comprehend their tools, you dismantle their advantage. Toxic people operate through patterns of guilt, blame, confusion, and emotional bait. Identify which weapon they favor most, and dull it through detachment. If they use guilt, show indifference. If they seek attention, deny it. If they thrive on pity, offer logic instead of sympathy. Each tactic they use loses its sharpness when it fails to achieve reaction. They depend on predictability. By refusing to play your assigned role, you destroy their strategy from within. One must learn to act with calm precision, concealing awareness behind composure. When a manipulator senses that you know their game yet remain unfazed, they grow paranoid. They will begin to overextend, exposing more of their schemes out of fear. Let them. Do not confront their lies immediately. Let them speak further. Let them dig deeper into their illusion until it collapses by its own weight. You need not raise your voice to destroy deceit. Exposure is the silent victory that wounds deepest. To use their tactics against them is also to adopt their strength without their corruption. They weaponize empathy, you weaponize observation. They create illusion, you use perception. Their manipulation is impulsive, driven by insecurity. Yours must be deliberate, guided by control. The key difference between the deceiver and the strategist is purpose. They manipulate to dominate. You reflect to neutralize. You must remain untainted by the same poison you study. Precision requires discipline, cruelty requires none. The one who fights fire with calculation does not burn. When the toxic person realizes their influence has reversed, they panic. Their usual weapons, guilt, fear, seduction, pity, become useless. Their identity, built upon manipulation, begins to crumble. You do not need to attack, simply continue reflecting their own patterns until they lose the will to play. In that moment, the balance of power shifts. What once controlled you now dances to your silence, and the manipulator stands exposed before their own mirror, facing the truth they thought only others would see. Power is the ultimate shield in a world ruled by influence and perception. Power is not a luxury, it is protection. The weak speak of fairness, the strong enforce it. Those who fall prey to toxic people often do so because they stand unarmed, not in body but in presence. Power does not only come from wealth or authority, it grows from confidence, independence, and the ability to command respect without asking for it. The toxic are predators of insecurity. They circle those who doubt themselves, for uncertainty is the scent that draws manipulation. To become untouchable, one must cultivate a strength that does not need to be declared, only felt. Power begins within. It is born when you stop seeking validation from others and start defining your own worth. Every time you depend on someone's approval, you give them a portion of your control. The toxic individual thrives on this trade. They sense who craves recognition and who fears rejection. Their entire strategy depends on emotional leverage. But the one who no longer needs their acceptance becomes invisible to their influence. Inner power is quiet yet absolute. It cannot be taken because it does not beg to be seen. Self-reliance is the first layer of armor. The one who builds their life upon their own abilities cannot be easily manipulated. Toxic people will promise support, affection, or opportunity only to use it as a leash. When you rely on them for stability, they dictate your movement. But when your foundation is built by your own effort, their threats lose meaning. They can withdraw approval, but you remain unmoved. They can attempt to isolate you, but your solitude does not frighten you. Independence is the weapon that renders control useless. Reputation is the second shield. In every circle of influence, perception carries power equal to truth. The wise protect their name not through words, but through consistency of action. When your character commands respect, lies lose their sting. Toxic people spread rumors because they cannot fight integrity. They seek to corrode the image of those they cannot defeat openly. Therefore, build your reputation as one who is difficult to deceive and impossible to intimidate. When others know that your mind cannot be easily swayed, manipulators hesitate before striking. Fear of exposure becomes their restraint. Alliances are the third form of power. No ruler stands alone. Surround yourself not with the agreeable, but with the discerning. Seek those who value strength over sympathy and truth over comfort. Toxic individuals isolate their targets, cutting them off from wise counsel to increase control. Counter this by building quiet but loyal networks. People who see through deceit and mirror your strength. The more respected and connected you become, the fewer will dare to cross you. Power attracts safety, for even predators recognize when the hunt is dangerous. True power is not loud, nor cruel. It is the calm certainty that you cannot be shaken. It allows you to walk among the toxic without absorbing their venom. You do not chase revenge because dominance is already yours. The manipulator whispers to the fearful. They fall silent before the unbending. Power silences poison because it denies it a place to grow. When your presence alone demands respect, conflict becomes unnecessary. The toxic retreat not because you fight them, but because they understand that to approach you is to face the weight of their own insignificance. The world will never be free of the deceitful, the jealous, or the manipulative. Every age has known them, those who twist kindness into chains and feed on the weakness of others. Yet their existence need not be your downfall. The wise do not seek to change human nature, they learn to master it. By understanding selfishness, you cease to be its victim. By controlling emotion, you deny them power. Through distance, you reclaim peace. By reflecting their tactics, you dismantle their control. And by building true power within yourself, you become unreachable. Dealing with toxic people is not a matter of confrontation, but of evolution. It is the process of transforming vulnerability into wisdom, reaction into calculation, and dependence into authority. You do not need to destroy those who seek to harm you. Their own nature ensures their undoing. Your task is simply to rise beyond their reach, to stand so composed, so self-sufficient, that their poison cannot find an opening. The strong are not those who fight chaos, but those who remain unshaken in its presence. In the end, survival among the cunning requires neither cruelty nor mercy, but mastery, the mastery of oneself. When you have achieved that, no toxic person can truly touch you, for you no longer move by their design. You have become your own law, your own defense, your own empire of calm amidst the storms of human frailty.